They're coming for us. Get them. Get them. They're coming in hot.
I got one.
Don't get cocky, kid.
But it's a Pod Bros podcast.
What do you mean it's a podcast? You haven't been shooting? They're all over the place.
Well, no, but they've got all sorts of good shows like Pencil and Ink Reviews and The Guy Huddle and Players vs. Podcasts. I mean, was I supposed to?
Yes. What? How many podcasts do they have?
There's tons. You got other ones like The Accidental Wrestling Fan and Take Aim Outdoors.
That kind of sounds like we should make podcasts, not war.
Aww.
What's up, everybody? I'm Richard.
And I'm Shawn.
And we are speaking the language of romance, and today is a special day, much like all the other special days, but this one's an extra special day because things happened.
A movie came out, a special movie, a trilogy-ending movie. Richard, what are we talking about today?
We're talking about Star Wars.
Yeah.
We're talking about Star Wars, Sean. We're talking about Star Wars. I'm so excited, Sean. Let's talk about Star Wars.
All right. So, like we do whenever we talk about these, we like to talk about kind of our, getting to the movie. And my experience was pretty blah, getting to there and everything. Like, it wasn't very exciting, but you, I think, have a better tale.
I have a better tale. And first and foremost, it's integral to the tale, but I have to lead off with the fact that you need to be jealous of me, and you need to be jealous of me because I don't know if you guys do, but I know that I do. I have the most amazing wife in the world.
And why is that, Richard?
That, Sean, is because, so my showing was at 6 p.m.
That's early. First showing was mine well.
It is. So Richard doesn't get off work until 5 p.m., which means that he wasn't going to get to the theater until at the earliest, because the theater was actually close to my work. At the earliest, I wasn't going to get to the theater until like 5:15.
Yeah. And
what's a boy to do?
Oh, yeah. And this is a movie where people line up. They're probably there all day.
What's a boy to do? Let's bring who answers the call? The savior that is my wife. Amanda and my children got to the theater at 3:30 or 3:45.
And you said they were the first in lines too, and they got there that late?
They got there that late and they were first in line.
Wow. So you get off.
So I got off work and I ran to my car. My wife's out there waiting for me. And I got in the car and I was like, let's go. Where are the kids? And she said, I dropped them. We went to the movie theater early so we could get in line. We got there at 3:30. We're first in line.
Yeah.
I said, we're first in line. I said, we're first. We're like number one. We're the first person. She's like, yes. I said, oh my God, you are the best wife that a man could ever ask for.
She's like, well, I mean, the kids are the ones waiting. He's like, oh, that's beside the point.
I mean, whatever. They'll wait anywhere.
When you got there, so you got there about 5:15. How many people did you walk by and be like, sorry, best wife here. Got the best wife. Saved my spot.
Not that many. In fact, it was actually interesting, which I think I feel like this plays into the movie of itself. I feel like The Last Jedi kind of burned some people because there wasn't that many people in line. I did not sit down to a packed theater.
There was, so I didn't have to worry about waiting in line because the theater I went to had reserved seating.
Okay.
So I just had to get there anytime and my seat was mine. But it was probably let's say 100-person theater, maybe a little bit more, but it was probably 85% full.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I did have a nice conversation with the person in line behind us. I say behind us because there was nobody in front of us because Shawn, was first in line.
Yeah. So it did kind of take, because this is the first time I've gone to this theater where it has reserved seating. So I didn't really have to interact with anybody. And I'm not going to lie, that kind of took a little bit away from it.
Yeah, I could see that. I could totally see that.
And I don't know about you, but I was kind of in the same boat where I bought my tickets like a month ago, maybe. But I kind of almost forgot that this was coming out this week. Like there wasn't as much of a hype as there was for the previous two.
I agree. I would say that like my hype meter was very tamped down until for some reason I don't know what it was, but today it exploded for me.
So you get there first in line.
First in line.
Like you said, you're about the same packed theater as we had, about 85%. There was a shit ton of trailers in front of my movie. There's at least 7 or 8 trailers.
I did not have that many.
I think it's this theater. It always seems like they have a ton because it was like the show was supposed to start at 6. I got up one more time to use the bathroom because they're still showing commercials, not trailers, commercials. Yeah, and it was 6:06 when I was walking back to the theater.
The theater I went to didn't have that many. I think that's simply because this theater in particular is not a big one. It's not like an AMC or anything like that. It's a very small local chain.
Oh, I gotcha.
Or there aren't that many, you know what I mean? So like I had maybe maybe a couple commercials, 2 trailers, and then I was in. Oh, we were in.
And I think that kind of almost tampered my mood even more because it probably wasn't until 6:30 before the movie even actually started.
Jeez.
So it was enough where like I love trailers. So a lot of times when I get like the second or third trailer, like, oh, I hope there's one more. But like after 3 of them, like back to back of me thinking like, fuck, is another one? I kind of was like, just like, let's get on with this movie.
Yeah, I had one. We had one for the Ryan Reynolds movie.
We had that one.
What else did you have?
We had Tenet, Black Widow, some Barb and Star movie, the Spy movie with Will Smith, Wonder Woman.
1917, that was one.
We didn't have that one.
I had 1917 and that Ryan Reynolds movie. And I think that was it.
Nice. So you get
and then we were in. And I was in.
All right. Well, let's start breaking it down then, Richard. So I'm going to let you kind of tell me what you thought about it because you seem pretty excited. You seem pretty giddy about it. And I'm going to poo-poo a little bit on your commentary. Yeah.
That's fine.
I wasn't too happy about it. I mean, I'm not like... So to put it in perspective, I saw Force Awakens 3 times and liked it. The third time I was kind of like, okay, that might have been too much.
Okay.
Last Jedi I saw twice, and the part where they go to the casino, I was like, okay, I can pass on this. This one I really don't know if I want to go see a second time.
Oh, wow. I'm debating on whether or not I'm going to go see it a second time. I actually probably will.
Well, I hope your
Force
goal
Awakens
for this
I
should
saw
be
twice. Last Jedi I did not see. I saw once, and I was good.
Gotcha. Well, your goal for this should be to talk me into going a second time, I guess.
Okay. Well, did I like it? Yes, I did. And I know exactly why I liked it. And I will say that it does make me question, like, am I just an easy mark? Am I just a sucker? Because I know exactly what it is. Is the I mean, we had the same discussion when it came to Force Awakens. Like, is this movie like paying a lot of fan service?
Yeah, I think this one did.
Very much so. It is. There are so many beats that you can see exactly where they're getting pulled from. Like, this is just like an Empire. Oh, this is just like Jedi. Oh, you know what I mean? And that happened a lot. And I knew exactly what was going on. And I was kind of okay with it. And so that makes me, like, am I just in the bag? I mean, yeah, I am. But am I in the bag more than even I thought? Yeah, a little bit. It was shot really well, I felt. I did feel like when it came to Palpatine, I felt like it was a little too. I felt like the cinematography was a little too dark.
It was a little bit more horror movie-esque, which I kind of dug. Like that first scene where you see Kylo kind of getting to Palpatine was pretty cool.
Yeah. Like I just mean the lighting. Like it was just like lit kind of dark. Like I would have liked to have seen more of Palpatine.
Yeah, I'm sure that was probably by intention because when he finally got like their Force spirit inside of him, you could see him a little bit better then.
I mean, I mean, I don't know. I figured, did you want to go spoiler free and then go into?
Oh, no, I guess not at this point. So yes,
No.
we're gonna go. I mean, it's a movie that we're gonna talk about. So.
Okay. So I would, if you asked me what my general opinion was, it honestly makes me, I'm disappointed. If I'm disappointed in anything, I'm disappointed in the fact that JJ didn't do all three. And the reason I say that, is because I felt like I felt like he was trying to, he did Force Awakens, and then I felt like he was trying to tell the remaining 2/3 of his story with one movie.
I completely agree. I basically felt like this was what he thought 2 should be, and 3 kind of mashed together.
A little bit, yeah. Yeah.
I think if you would have taken out like the whole Snoke stuff in 2 and introduced Palpatine in that, this story might have had more room to breathe. Because I felt like there's a lot of stuff that was rushed.
It was very, it felt very rushed to me.
Because it was a 2.5 hour movie.
I watched it, and it definitely felt like there were things that were getting almost left out.
Oh, yeah.
In a way. Like you're watching it and like you feel like there's way more movie that I didn't get to see.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
And so if you ask me what my general opinion is I would wish if I had my druthers, I wish that JJ would have been able to make another one, maybe just to kind of space the story to space this movie out into 2.
Yeah. Well, I feel like
because I feel like you could have easily, I feel like, you could have, you add a few bits and you could easily make this 2 movies.
Oh, for sure. I think like, almost like the end of, Return or the Empire Strikes Back. Like that was very dark. And like, if you found out what you find out about Rey at the end of the second one, you'd be like, holy shit. But instead it felt like, oh yeah, her parents weren't anybody. And I felt like he had to kind of retcon that. I was like, well, her parents weren't anybody, but her grandpa.
Yeah. Yeah. So we had a lot of big reveals. I will say, okay, so character wise, so we kind of like generally brush on the story. Character wise, this movie made me like Kylo Ren again.
Yeah, I dug him in the first 2. I'm trying to think.
I didn't really like him so much in the second one.
I'm trying to think
of in the first one, he was very in Force Awakens, he was, the big bad, but also, this conflicted character. In the second one, he just kind of, in the second one, to me, he comes off as just kind of, I don't want to say whiny, because he was not really, but a little bit.
Well, and that was the confusing part too, because he's trying to team up with Rey. You don't really know why. And then he goes against Snoke and you don't really know why.
Yeah. But in this one, I felt like his motivation was fairly clear, and you get a redemption arc with him that I genuinely liked.
Yeah, I mean it kind of mimics what we saw in the original trilogy.
Sure, as it was meant to. And you know what? It's cool. I was cool with it. It made me like Kylo Ren as a character again. Rey's character arc, I mean, I felt was pretty solid.
I think I just keep going back to it being rushed too in this, because she's kind of like super good, then she's starting to be tempted by the dark side, and then all of a sudden she's back to being, her.
I feel like if anyone had a rushed, in terms of like their story, personal story, I would say for me, Kylo Ren, I would say was probably the most rushed. So by the time you get to his redemption, I feel like he just barely earns it. Just barely.
Mm-hmm. Kylo, you mean?
By the time, yeah, on Kylo Ren, I feel like by the time you get to the end of his story, I feel like he just barely earns the redemption story.
Which is kind of, I think, the best way to do it, because I don't think you need the last third of a movie where they've fully redeemed themselves. I feel like if you time it right, it's kind of like what happened here. But even then, like, so it took his mother dying and seeing him to give him the redemption, I guess. Like, that part still kind of sits weird with me.
No, well, yeah, I mean, I feel like his mother was really the only tether he had, because, you know, like in The Last Jedi, like, he had a chance. He could have blown up the fucking cockpit she was, you know, standing in, or the bridge of the ship she was standing in. Kylo Ren could have blown that fucker up.
Who ended up shooting?
But he stopped.
Somebody shot that and busted it open. Was it just one of the guys next to him? I thought he did shoot it.
I think it was one of the guys next to him. He didn't actually do it.
Oh, okay.
He hesitated. So I felt like his mother was really his only, was almost like his tether
to not going to the dark side.
Right.
I don't know. It just felt, I don't know. It didn't really sit well with me, I guess. Because, I mean, if that was the thing holding him to it and he kept her alive, her now dying sets him on the path of redemption. And really, he was never, like, I mean, did he? And, I mean, I would never call Kylo Ren was never a Sith in any of these movies. Like, he was always holding himself back. Yeah, I would say, yeah, that makes sense. You know, and I mean, like, he was always kind of like seesawing, kind of, you know, like going from one edge to the other. And even with Snoke and in this movie with Palpatine, like, he's like, yeah, I'll kind of go along with your plan, but this is what I really want to do. Yeah. No, I get that. And so, you know, like I said, I feel like he just barely earns the redemption. He does like it does. I feel like he earns it, but just barely. If there was any character in this story that I felt was unnecessary or just not like kind of almost annoying, I'd have to go with Finn. Well, and that's something I was going to ask. I kind of feel like they're leaning into him pretty hard at being force sensitive. Like they were leaning into that pretty hard where, it's just like we get it. You have a crush on Rey. Where's Rey? We got to find Rey. Where's Rey? Is she over there? I'm going to go get Rey. Hey, Rey's out there. I'm going to go get her. Chewie, go get Rey. Like, but he knew we too get it. He was the one that knew that she was a Palpatine too, right? That was the secret that he knew. I have no idea. He said something about him having a secret for her. Well, I thought it was that he liked her. I thought that was it. Like that was the impression I got. I thought it was like very on the surface. As they're going down, he's like, "Hey, I just want to tell you that I love you." And she's like, "I know." God. You say my like I feel like his sole motivation in the movie was like, we got to get to Rey. Where's Rey? We got to get to Rey. I totally see the Rey plus Finn. He was kind of like forever. Beating me over the head with it. Yeah, there was a lot of that stuff in there too. Like I felt like Rey had this thing about every 10 minutes where she'd be looking off in the distance, like feeling some kind of presence, which I felt was a little overdone. But yeah, I feel like Finn was kind of unnecessary. Honestly, Finn to me has been like in The Last Jedi and here. Force Awakens, he played a key part, I think. Force Awakens, yes. But in Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker, like he just felt very unnecessary to me. Yeah, and you kind of add Rose in that too now. Like she really didn't have a big part in this movie at all. No. And she was part of the big like casino run in the second one. Yeah. So, Poe's character I liked. I mainly attribute that to Oscar Isaac. I feel like Oscar Isaac, like plays the shit out of that role. Yeah, he's a Han Solo, Indiana Jones-esque character. Very much so. And he does it. And he does it. I feel like he does it quite well. Okay. So give me your take on it. I kind of went into story, cinematography a little bit, characters,
I'm avoiding specific beats until later, but
Yeah, well, I mean, I think you've echoed a little bit of what I felt. I felt like this was a mashup of what episode 2 and 3 should have been.
yes.
So I think that kind of killed it for me because, again, it felt rushed. I felt like they hit on a lot of spots pretty quickly. I feel like the big reveal of who Rey was, like, it should have been more surprising or more impactful than what it was because it kind of happened like right in the middle. There's a couple things that I've never seen before in Star Wars, so I'm a little confused by it, but it's kind of like the force passing of objects.
The what now?
The force passing of objects. So they would be in that little like virtual reality force world.
Oh, I see. I see. Well, it's basically like they're projecting themselves to in other where each other is.
Yeah, but physical objects being able to move to the other place.
Right. No, I've never seen that before, but that didn't, I mean, I think I would say I would attribute that to the connection that Rey and Ben had. It's what they were calling I don't remember what they called it.
Force yin yang.
Something like that, or a duo, or I can't remember what they called it.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of minor, but that was something that was really hit on. So like in the pivotal moment, that's going to be a thing that saves them.
Do you love conspiracies, UFOs, ghosts, and all things bizarre? Do you want to listen to two skeptics judge the plausibility of these offbeat topics?
Do you want the whole enchilada?
Then you, dear listener, need to hear Mr. Bunker's Conspiracy Time podcast.
Check out new episodes every Wednesday on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you find fine podcasts.
Or log on to the World Wide Web with your favorite browser. Mine is Netscape. And hit up MrBunkersConspiracyTime.com.
Hey, we'll see you in the bunker.
The Force Spirit hot potato, where they're passing Force Spirit back and forth, healing each other. You were kind of hit over the head of that really early. When they fall into that serpent pit and she heals it, and you kind of say like, oh, okay, so this is going to be a big key thing. It felt like a lot of like getting hit over the head with these specific things that are going to be used for later. It's the shotgun kind of thing. Like you don't show a shotgun unless you're going to use it. And they made sure you saw the shotgun for these things a ton.
Well, I mean, okay, like the force healing thing, like you see it 3 times.
There's the serpent. There's Ben. Then she heals Ben again, or he heals her.
No, there's the serpent. Then she heals Ben on Endor, and then Ben heals her at the end.
Yeah, and I guess she doesn't try to heal him, but he goes away. But I was expecting a 4th time where she's like, "Oh, well, here, take a little bit extra, so we'll take a quarter of it."
So yeah, I mean, you see it 3 times, and maybe it's once too many. Like maybe you didn't need to have Rey healing that snake. Like I think that we could have figured out what she was doing.
Yeah, and like I said, if this was, if you saw that in episode 2, it'd be a nice little callback. But I think
if you saw it like in 8 and then now you see it twice in 9,
yeah,
I get what you're saying.
I just think sometimes if you do things like that, it's like you're treating the audience like they're dumb. It's like, all right, so here's the 3rd time you see this thing. It's very, very important. Make sure you pay attention to it. But yeah, I don't know. It just the Palpatine storyline I liked, but I didn't leave this one like I left the first Force Awakens, where I'm like, oh my God, like I feel like I'm in the bag for Star Wars now. I kind of felt like this was like, meh, okay.
But what is okay? So, but is it just because you felt like the story was rushed, or
the story being rushed? It didn't really, it's like the big reveal that we saw. That should have been something we saw earlier instead of now. The actual big battle seemed kind of quick and seemed kind of like a lot of like convenient stuff. It did feel very Avengers. Like I was waiting for Lando to be like, "Hey Poe, on your left."
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, to me that's just Star Wars. Because you look at like Battle of Yavin, Darth Vader's got Luke's X-Wing in his sights and he's like, I have you now. And then a laser blast comes from out of nowhere and here comes Han. Like you knew it was coming.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, you were expecting that. I mean, but then like the lightning bolts from Palpatine knocking everybody out, that seemed like that really didn't go anywhere. It just knocked everybody down and then she stopped them and they're back up.
Yeah.
So it wasn't, I just felt like it I don't know. It just didn't really move me like the first one did.
So it sounds like what you want is like a 4-hour long director's cut.
Honestly, if you get rid of 2 and that's where it would be. Yeah, 4 hours for this, but you get rid of episode 8, make the first 2 hours episode 8, and make the final 2 hours episode 9. Then I think you're in a better spot.
Yeah. I honestly, yeah, I would agree.
And like
I would agree with that.
You mentioned earlier, like a lot of people felt burned from The Last Jedi. And I think that's the problem I have with a lot of these trilogies and stuff is I don't feel like they have these things really well planned out in some instances. And so when you get to this, it's like, oh shit, well this didn't work. Well, let's tweak it. It's like, okay, well none of these things tie together. So it's not really a trilogy. It's kind of
right.
Three bites
I
at the
feel
apple.
like the story, the overall story, and when I say that, I'm talking about all 3 movies, could have definitely benefited from one person at the helm overseeing the entire arc. Obviously, like you have like Kevin Feige that oversees Marvel and everything that led up to Endgame. Everything kind of feeds itself. With Star Wars, I can totally see how it could have definitely. It definitely needs if we're gonna get more movies, which I'm sure we will. But if we're gonna get more movies, I would definitely agree that there needs to be one person with an overall outline in their head, not necessarily like the same director, but just somebody that's saying okay. And not even necessarily the same writer, just somebody like that says, okay, I need you to hit these beats.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like you said, it's a Kevin Feige type person. Like JJ should have been like, I don't know how much I think he was still a producer on 8.
I think he was too.
But yeah, but he was doing Star Trek in between there at some point as too. But yeah, you kind of need him to be like, no, this is the story we want to tell. I want to tell. You fill in the spaces, but here's what you have to hit.
Right.
Because I mean, episode 8, like that destroyed a bunch of the stuff that they had in place, like the Ren guys, the mask, Snoke, like all that was just thrown away. Like, oh yeah, all this stuff from episode 7 that you thought was cool that was going to set the stage.
Yeah.
And I mean, they kind of talk about it a little bit here, where they say that he made Snoke, so Snoke's some kind of clone or something like that, because you saw him in like this vat of ooze.
True,
but. And I guess, like, from your standpoint, too, because this was kind of getting sold to us as, like, the end of this 9-story run, like the end of the Skywalker chapter of Jedi. Do you feel like you got that?
Yeah, I did feel. I mean, the Skywalker line, as we know it, is now gone. Like, they're all gone.
True.
Yes, there is somebody that has the mantle of Skywalker, but the Skywalker dynasty, I guess you could say, as you and I know it, is gone. Like they're all gone.
But besides them being dead, do you feel like there's good closure there? Because I still feel like it just kind of. I was like, well,
maybe not so much with Luke, but I feel like proper reverence was given to Leia, considering the circumstances that that they had to work with. I would say, could Luke have gone out in a little bit of a different fashion? Yeah, but again, that's, basically it sounds like the overall gist I'm getting from both of us is, God, I wish, we'd either get one more, we would have either gotten one more movie or we would have had somebody different do 8.
Yeah, that's where I'm sitting. But and that's got to be a tough job because you're essentially retconning everything for an episode 9.
Exactly. Okay, so now that you've seen 9, do you like 8 more than 9? Do you feel like 8 should? Do you feel like 9 made 8 better?
It definitely fixed the holes that we saw from 8.
Right.
I do think like if this was something that you watched over a weekend, you watched 7, 8, 9, it would probably taste a lot better. But waiting 2 years between 8 and 9 kind of because 8 was kind of one of those things that's like, okay, that existed. I don't really know where they're going with it. It's kind of thrown away in my mind.
Yeah.
And so you're kind of going with 9 with a fresh kind of, okay, what are they doing here? And it kind of feels like how I felt with the Nolan trilogy too. Like, it's like, you had the opportunity to make something like really, really great and cool. And you made something like decent, but you just I felt like you missed the ball a little bit.
Yeah.
It wasn't a home run. It was a good double, but not something that I think you would put on a pedestal as one of the greatest things of all time.
Yeah, I think the general gist is like, hey, I wish there was more, I wish there was more, either more movie or basically like less of 8 and more of 9.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And I'd be curious to see, a few years from now when JJ talks about it, like, was the reason that this was a 2-hour, 45-minute movie, we had a lot quicker scenes, was due to the fact that he was trying to fix all the stuff from 8.
Probably. I mean, I don't know if he'll ever admit that, but I mean, how could he not?
Yeah. I don't even know what this is on pace for, or if it's going to be like a huge, like how big it's going to be.
Oh, you mean dollars wise?
Yeah.
I'm sure it'll do fine.
No, it'll do fine, but I doubt it's going to touch what we saw for the other 2.
It's not going to be Force Awakens money.
And I'd be curious if it's going to be Last Jedi.
You think?
I just remember.
Okay, do you think that's because of 8?
Yeah, I definitely think it's because of 8. But I think, and that's what kind of sucks too, because like, I guess we're getting really into spoilers here, but how do you feel about the reveal of who Rey is actually related to?
I was okay with it. I mean, I felt like it did. I did have questions like, who was Palpatine's kid? Who did Palpatine sleep with?
Yeah.
Where is this woman?
And why were they considered worthless? I would assume that they'd probably have at least some force power. I know it could probably skip generations, but if Palpatine's as powerful as he says.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that was my first question. I'm like, well, wait, who's the grandmother?
Yeah. Well, and and I keep going back, like, that was the big thing in 8. It's like, oh my God, we're going to find out who Rey's parents are. And I guess technically he did, because, he said they weren't anybody. But that's like, okay, yeah, good one, you got us. Like, we want to know who her parents are, and you told us, but we want to know, like, where is she in this? Is she like Luke's kid? Is she Leia and Han's kid? Who is she? And so I felt like that was just kind of a quick. I mean, in my audience, there weren't that many people that went.
Well, yeah, I think it's because of the same reason that I had, where I was like, well, then who's the grandmother?
Yeah.
Like, you want to know, like, you immediately are like, well, if that's true, then who's the grandmother?
Princess Leia.
Oh, God. Okay. So I'm sure that, there's going to be a lot of reviews online that are going to say the same thing like they did for Force Awakens. They're going to say, well, all they did was rehash shit from other movies and it's total fucking fan service. So is it I mean, was the movie total fan service, and is that okay?
I mean, there was fan service. I mean, Lando in there.
Yeah.
When you see Han, this actually was kind of touching to me when Han.
That's when I cried.
Is it? Was it?
I only cried at one point in the entire film, and it was when Han showed up.
So just when he showed up?
Well, when he showed up and the two of them are talking.
Yeah. Did you catch what he did though?
Yeah.
Ben's like, Dad, he goes, I know.
I loved it.
Yeah, that was awesome.
I loved it.
Now that is like superb, because I mean, especially when you think of a father-son relationship, especially the one they had, like it's tough to be like, oh, I love you, Dad.
Yeah, exactly, right? That for me, that was the one moment that I was like, I have to tell people about this.
And that wasn't, to me, like that was a little bit of fan service, but even then I felt like that's very fitting. That was a very Han thing to say. His hair looked jacked up though. He looked like he had a rough day.
Well, he's on they're in the middle of this like storm basically in the middle of the ocean.
But he's a memory. He's not really there. Physically there.
I mean, fucking tomato. That's what I say.
If I was dead, I didn't want to be in this shit anymore. $10 million. I'm Han Solo.
Yeah. I mean,
I guess like not in like I wish they would have this would have been built more around the Death Star than what was. That kind of felt like it was just there.
Yeah. Yeah. I will say I would like to I guess we should have said this from the top, is that I just saw this movie.
Oh yeah, we should say that.
Like I walked out of the theater like an hour and a half ago.
Yeah, it's pretty fresh. So
a lot of things are like, I guess, I mean, there's stuff that's fresh in my head, but there's also like, a lot that I probably haven't processed in terms of like, when it comes to this. But, I mean, so far, everything I stand behind everything that I'm saying. I don't feel like I'm just making, pulling shit out of my ass here.
So what do you feel about the kiss between Ben and Rey?
That one, I actually out loud was like, oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, I was like, oh, that's not needed. Because I was like, okay, he's going to live. They're going to get together. They're going to have babies, which isn't the Jedi way. They're going to turn into little Sith bastards.
Then they're going to have to kill them.
Yeah, but then he just disappeared.
Yep.
But my first actual thought was when they started kissing, and I wanted to say this out loud. I want to be like, hope they're not related. Because that has happened.
No, it has. Okay, curious point. How did you feel about the younged up Luke and Leia?
The lighting on it and the shortness of that made it bearable.
Yes.
I don't think it was very useful.
No.
But the other thing too is, when did both lightsabers were blue when Rey and Ben had them, but when they're in the woods, one was green and one was blue.
Wait a minute. Okay, go through that again.
So when Luke and Leia were in the woods doing their training, Luke's lightsaber was green. Leia's was like that blue, light blue color.
Right.
When Ben and Rey had those two lightsabers with Palpatine, they were both blue.
Oh, well, that's easy. Luke's saber's green, right? Because from Return of the Jedi, in Return of the Jedi, he built a new lightsaber and it was green. Okay, and that's what he had through the whole movie. And then Leia had a blue one, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So when Luke left and went and landed on the island with the little fucking pufferfish or the puffins or whatever.
Puffin Pogs or Pogs.
So when he went there, then he ditched his lightsaber. So he didn't have one.
Yeah, because that's what Rey got at that one.
Right. So the green one's gone.
But the one he had in the woods would have been post Return of the Jedi.
The saber that Rey, gets is a blue one because that was Anakin's.
Oh, okay, that makes sense now.
So when she has when Luke and Leia are, fighting with each other in the woods and the little training thing or whatever, Luke has a green one and Leia has a blue one.
Because Luke,
Luke leaves, he ditches his green one And then Rey has Anakin's old one, which is blue, and Leia's, which is also blue.
So she had Anakin's, not Luke's. Luke's
Right.
is MIA.
Correct.
Okay. Although she did say somewhere in there about your brother's saber, though. I feel like maybe there was some discussions there that
Well,
were a little
because
misleading.
Luke had it until Vader cut his hand off. That's when he lost it.
Yeah.
Luke had Anakin's saber, and then Vader chopped his fucking hand off, and the saber went flying off in Bespin,
And that's where it got collected and ended up in that warehouse place.
where Rey found it.
Okay. That makes a little bit more sense.
And so then that's what prompts Luke to build his own that he has in Return of the Jedi.
Yeah. Well, that actually probably makes more sense then. I think the only thing that misled me on that is when she said your brother's saber, which I guess I was thinking it was the green one then at that point.
Oh,
And
I
then when
got
they showed that quick scene, it kind of threw me off, which even there, I don't know why that scene was necessary or that little callback.
Yeah, I think it was just, like, hey, let's look at a young Mark Hamill and a young Carrie Fisher.
Yeah. We got some
Although
money
it
to burn.
was, I will say it was a little cool. I think it helps establish that, like Leia was helping to train Rey. And I think that was kind of helping to establish that, Leia knew some shit. She wasn't just, this old wise woman that fucking,
Yeah. So that's why
Just-
they had her knock him down to show that she's actually fairly strong in the Force and maybe even stronger than Luke.
Well, I mean, maybe, but at least to show that she had training and skill.
So when she kind of gave up being or training to be a Jedi, did she? I didn't quite catch it. Do you think she was doing it because she was scared she couldn't keep from going like to the dark side too much, or
She just didn't, or she was just, like, I'm good.
it's like
Or
Jedi's
maybe,
boy stuff?
Or maybe she, did her training and then she kind of like swore all that off once Ben turned.
Oh, that would make sense. See, that's like that'd be a good story to see there. Like those are
Yeah.
the things that we should have had answered.
Yeah. But again, I feel like, circumstances dictate, like, how do you do that?
I mean, so you go to episode. So we find out that Ben is their kid in episode 7. So in episode 8, you probably have to have Luke die early in 8 and find out that Leia will have to train Rey because she needs to find a Jedi to train her, and that's where you find
Right.
out that whole backstory there. Like Rey or Leia ended up giving it up because of what you said, because Ben changed.
So in that sense, it's almost like I mean, in that way, Leia is kind of filling the role of Yoda.
Yeah. And I got Yoda feels when they were in that little jungle area.
Yeah, exactly. And also, did you not? So at what point there's a lot of voices talking to Rey?
Yeah. At the end.
Basically, like, saying like, hey, the Jedi are, like, we're all with you. We're all pulling for you, Rey. And how many voices did you pull?
Well, I know I got Obi-Wan.
You got Obi-Wan,
Yoda.
you got Qui-Gon, Yoda.
I thought I heard actual Anakin.
You did.
Okay. Luke, Leia.
Leia.
There's a couple other female voices that might have come from like the cartoons, but I couldn't quite catch
Yes,
those.
one was Ahsoka.
Okay, nice.
I thought that was nice. I agree. I was trying to figure out if there was if I heard Mace Windu at some point.
I didn't catch any Samuel L. Jackson in there.
I felt like I was waiting to hear like, motherfucking get the fuck up.
That motherfucker's shooting lightning. I'm tired of this motherfucking lightning in my motherfucking space battle.
Stay away from that lightning. That shit a bitch. Killed me.
That's true. But yeah, see, I just don't, and I don't know where they're going to go with this. Like you look at episode 3 and you're like, oh, okay, like he's Darth Vader now. Okay, like we see how he got here.
Mm-hmm.
The end of 6, you're like, oh, okay, well they stopped the Empire. Like,
well, okay. I mean, if I mean, I felt like 3 was kind of, when you get to episode 3, it was basically like you already had 4, 5, and 6. It was just basically like, it was like, to me, episode 3 is like parking your car in a garage. Like, you know where you need to put it.
Yeah.
You just need to get it there. So, 3 in a way almost had an easier time because it knew exactly where it needed to end. With this, I mean, we don't know who knows where the story is going to go.
Yeah. Well, and I guess I was kind of under the understanding that this was kind of the end of this specific set of trilogies. Like these characters are done.
Right. But the question is like, are we done? Are we done with Rey? Are we done with Poe? Are we done with Finn? Are we done with?
I don't know. I mean,
obviously we're done with, the Skywalkers.
And that's a great question too, because like, what's your next 3 going to be about? Because you got rid of this big empire for the 3rd time at this point.
I will say that I think that if we do get more, or when we do get more, I do feel like they're going to be like what we were talking about earlier, where, we were saying that, these need to be more fleshed out beforehand.
Yeah.
I feel like that, it was almost like a misstep when it comes to these 3. And it's a lesson that they kind of learned.
That's a great way to put that, because like I try to make the comparison to the Dark Knight trilogy, and I think saying it felt like a misstep is a great way of putting that. Like I felt like the same thing here. Kind of just it just missed the step. That's a great way to put it.
Yeah, and that misstep was apparently an entire movie called The Last Jedi.
Yeah, and that's what's frustrating is because like
did this make you hate The Last Jedi more? Because you're like, this is what they could have done.
Yeah, a little bit. Because that's how I go back to those Batman movies. It's like, this is what you could have done. You've wasted the opportunity to make 3 movies about Batman. You wasted 3 movies to make about this Jedi thing. And the problem too is like, I think they should have focused more on, so the characters that we love and enjoy, Luke, Leia and all them, I think that should have been like the main focus in 7. And then you start drifting them away in 8, and 9's more focused on these new characters. It's almost like weaning yourself off of nicotine, right?
Well, I mean, I feel like they kind of did that in a way.
Not with Luke. You didn't see Luke until the last 5 minutes of Force Awakens.
No, true. Oh, I thought you meant like, well, yeah, but the whole movie's about going to find him.
Yeah, but that's why I feel like it's like they comic books does this in my opinion too. First few issues, they really stretch that story out. And they're like, oh shit, I'm cashing out here in a bit. And I got 1 issue left. Okay, first 3 panels, bam, story's done. Like, but we spent a year. Sorry, we got to get this over with really quick. I did like a lot of the Chewie stuff though.
Oh yeah. You know what? I totally thought they killed him off.
I did too, actually.
Oh, you know what? I was 100% surprised that aside from the obvious, nobody died.
Yeah, that irked me a little bit with C-3PO.
R2 made it. Yeah. 3PO made it. Well, Chewbacca made it.
R2 really
Lando made it
in there. But the scene when Chewie finds out that Leia dies.
Oh yeah, that one almost broke me too. I did cry when Han showed up, and I almost cried when Chewie when Chewie broke down, because like it's almost like you could hear exactly what he's saying. He's like, "What the fuck? Like, can I get a goddamn break? Why do all my best friends keep getting shot?" And
the problem is Poe goes in to like kind of hug him and he pushes him away. It's like, that's a chance to get your arms ripped off.
Yeah, no shit, right?
Either way, like he uses you to console himself and he crushes you to death. He's like, great, now this friend's dead.
Like it's like I don't speak Wookiee, but I knew exactly what he was saying in that moment. He was just like, God damn it. Are you fucking kidding me?
The general that turned into the mole, that kind of irked me a little bit.
Yeah.
Because that seemed kind of.
I mean, it was just kind of.
It's like, why are you helping us? And he like worst delivery is like, I don't have to win. I just need Kylo to lose. It's like, well, why?
I do. Okay. So earlier we were talking about Finn, and while I still feel that his arc in the story is essentially pointless, I do like the chemistry between these characters. I like the chemistry that Poe and Finn have. I like the chemistry that Rey and Poe and Finn have together.
Yeah.
I felt like they were, they're casted well and they're great actors, and I like watching them together. I like watching them interact with each other. I just honestly with Finn, I just wish he had more to do because he is an interesting character.
Yeah. Well,
I just wish he would, I guess I just wish that his role in the story was a bit more pivotal.
Well, and they kind of gave a little bit of when they met up with the group on the Death Star Island, and she was talking about how they were part of the First Order too, and they broke away.
Yeah.
But that was just kind of a quick throwaway thing. Like, they didn't really have much to do with character development there.
Also, at the very end of that, when Lando's talking to that chick that used to be in the First Order, is he totally going to bang her?
Oh, shit. I thought it might be his daughter.
Oh, I don't know either.
Because she's probably about the age that'd be his daughter.
Nah, I'm saying like...
you gotta be careful, Lando.
I'm saying like, let's go together. We can fuck on the ship. I got a ship now.
It's true, he does.
It was my buddy's. I mean, it was mine, and then it was my buddy's. But I mean, probably mine now.
Gotta raise your kids right, am I right? Did you stay through the credits?
A little bit.
What I had to go potty, but what did they show? Somebody said they had a little bit in credit stuff.
It was just more voices.
Oh, okay.
Like old, voices from the past, I guess. What was it? I did like reel back in my seat and I was like, yeah, because you know who I saw during the big space battle at the very end? Saw Wedge Antilles. That got me that pumped me up.
Was that the older guy with a little bit of gray hair? Yeah. So
I was like, it's fucking Wedge.
One of the things this is the second time I've sat by people that get annoyed by this, and it annoys me. Whenever people in the crowd were like getting excited and clapping, the people next to me were like visibly upset that people were clapping.
Aw, that sucks.
It's like, and that kind of takes me out of the movie too, because that happened with Avengers Endgame.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it's like, listen, if you don't want people clapping, like
don't go to this show.
Yeah,
like
don't go to the opening week.
If you want to see this movie, great. If you want to see this movie and not have people like clap and cheer, like don't go to the very first showing because that's what people are gonna do.
Yeah. So that kind of irritated me a little bit.
Get over yourself.
Yeah. I've had it's just, but what can you say about people?
Okay. So overall, do you want a scale of 1 to 5?
Why don't give me your ranking of the 9. All 9.
Oh, all 9. Okay, so obviously Empire for me first. For me, Jedi is a solid number 2.
Return of
the Jedi is number 2 for me. Revenge of the Sith, then let's see. A New Hope, then then Force Awakens. So what are we on? We're on 5.
Yeah, so you
got 4
5,
more
6,
to go.
3, 4, 7. So you've got 1, 2, 8, and 9.
Okay, so I'm gonna say 1, then 9, then 8, then 2.
Yeah, so I mean you've got 9 and 8 at the bottom 3.
That's true. But I mean, I do, but it's just because those other ones are just those other ones hold special.
I'm surprised you
9 has not. I would say that if you're asking me to compare this to movies that I've loved since I was 6 years old,
yeah, I think that's pretty solid, though. But yeah, I mean, like if I had to rate this one between the other three, it'd probably be 198 in my opinion. Which
You mean 798?
Yeah, 798.
Yes, I would definitely agree. 798. I guess maybe okay. Look, so if you took the original trilogy out of the way, I would say 3-1 or no 3-7-1 9 8 and 2.
Yeah, that seems fair. But yeah, like I said, I don't think you convinced me to go a second time. So I'll probably wait and watch it when it comes out on Disney Plus. There's no Mandalorian tie-in. I thought there'd be a Mandalorian tie-in.
You know, I was kind of waiting for it, but yeah, I didn't see it either.
I'm trying to remember when she went back to Tatooine and they showed the that big vehicle that they had in like episode 4 or 5. I was waiting
the Sandcrawler.
Yeah, I was waiting for her to go and see like older baby Yoda. But that'd probably been a little bit too much. But well, Richard, we saw the 9th of this series. Don't know what's going to be in the future, but what do you have for some Richard's closing thoughts?
This movie is definitely worth seeing.
Agreed.
Definitely worth seeing in a theater. Is it worth seeing more than will I go see it more than once? I'm kind of on the fence, but I'm actually leaning towards yes, which is not something that I could say about the last movie. Does it completely redeem the last movie? No, not really, but I don't think I wouldn't ask it to, because that's kind of a tall order.
Yeah.
But yes, definitely worth seeing at least once. I actually, if I'm really thinking about it, I will probably see it again. And it was a nice, it felt like a nice ending to me.
I guess I'm thinking they're going to branch off into other characters completely. I think this is probably the last we've seen of Rey.
You think so?
Yeah, probably. Maybe we might get like some cameos from them, but Poe and Finn maybe more so, but I think Rey and some of those other ones probably less.
We'll see.
We'll see. All right, well, let me do a little bit of housekeeping. Visit our website. We're at languageofbromance.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at languageofbro, and email us at bros@languageofbromance.com. And remember, we are part of the Pod Bros Network.
The spark that will light the fire of resistance in the podcasting world.
Ooh, do you think John's going to be like, you have to kill me, and then I will be in you?
Bang!
All right, was there anything else before I close her out?
No, I'm good.
All right, well, that's all the bromance we have for this show. I'm Shawn.
And I'm Richard.
And remember, don't be a Y unless you're trying to take over the galaxy. Be a Y.
Not. Don't take over the galaxy. Public service announcement.
Say, I'm disturbed.
Welcome to Hysteria 51, a weekly oddcast of mysteries, conspiracies, the unusual, and the unexplained.
Do we have a laser thermometer to figure out if Admiral Byrd is here? I'm pointing the laser at the wall now. 71.1, 71.2. Admiral Byrd is here.
With John, Brent, and Conspiracy Bot.
You're all idiots.
Yeah. Join them each week as they clarify conspiracies,
I'm Stuart Swerdlow. I promise I am human and I do human things.
explore enigmas,
It's all about ley lines, and you'd understand that if I could explain it to you.
and probe the paranormal. Hysteria 51 is a hilarious expedition into the eccentric.
Stop on my joke.
I
Thank
will when
you.
they're good.
Tune in each week and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, the iHeartRadio app, or wherever you listen to podcasts. And remember, the truth is out there, but you won't find it here.
Stay woke, meet sex.